Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's dive right in. Today we're tackling something that affects literally all of us, our daily relationship with our computers. We're looking at Zorin OS. It's a system that's completely flipping the script on how we think about desktop experiences, privacy, and even how long our hardware actually lasts.
Let me ask you, are you tired of your computer just dragging, slowing down over time? Or maybe you're frustrated by forced sign-ins, all that extra bloatware, or the creepy feeling that your OS is constantly tracking you to serve up ads? With Microsoft pushing hard into AI and Windows 10 nearing its end of life, millions of people are actively looking for the exit. And guess what? There's actually a really powerful alternative out there.
Section 1. What is Zorin OS?
So what is it? Well, Zorin OS is a Linux distribution, but hold on, it is not that intimidating command-line heavy system you might be picturing in your head right now. It was actually started back in 2008 by two teenage brothers in Ireland, Artyom and Kirill Zorin, and officially launched in 2009. It's built on a rock-solid Ubuntu Linux foundation, but with a very specific mission from day one, to be the absolute most seamless, user-friendly alternative for anyone migrating away from Windows or Mac OS. It basically takes the raw power and security of Linux and wraps it up in this highly polished, super intuitive package.
Section 2. The Windows Alternative Bridge. There's a quote from Professor Dr. Daniel, an active user on the Zorin community forums, that absolutely hits the nail on the head regarding Zorin's philosophy. He says, "People do not only use computers with logic, they also use them with habit." I mean, think about it. If you've used Windows for 20 years, your muscle memory is locked in. You know exactly where the start menu is, where the taskbar sits. Zorin OS totally gets that. It respects your habits and doesn't force you to learn a completely alien workflow on day one.
Instead, it actually adapts to you. With the built-in Zorin Appearance app, you can instantly switch your entire desktop layout with just a single click. It's kind of like a chameleon. Want a Windows 10 or 11 style? Boom, it's there. Prefer a Mac OS 5? You got it. Chrome OS, Ubuntu, no problem at all. By mirroring what you're already used to, Zorin completely removes the headache that usually comes with switching operating systems.
Section 3. Core, Pro, or Lite.
All right, here's how the different versions break down. First up is the Core Edition. This is the standard version, and it's completely free. It only needs about 1.5 gigabytes of RAM, making it perfect for everyday users who just want a slick, modern desktop. Then we have the Pro version. This is a one-time fee of $48, geared more towards creators and power users. And finally, there's the Lite edition, also completely free, but it uses a much lighter desktop environment called XFCE. This one is specifically engineered to run incredibly smoothly on hardware that is 10 to 15 years old.
Now, you might be wondering, why on earth would I drop $48 for the Pro version if Core is free and works perfectly fine? Well, you're essentially buying time and convenience. Pro gives you 8 extra premium desktop layouts, including spot-on Mac OS and Windows 11 clones, which brings the total to 12. Plus, it's preloaded with a massive professional creative suite for video, photo, and audio editing. You also get priority installation support, and honestly, you're directly supporting the developers who spend years maintaining this ecosystem. Sure, you could technically set all this up yourself for free, but Pro does the whole shebang for you instantly.
Section 4. Reviving your old hardware.
The comparison here is just wild. Windows 11 demands at least 4 gigs of RAM, has incredibly strict CPU generation limits, and requires a TPM 2.0 security chip. It's literally rendering millions of perfectly fine computers obsolete. On the flip side, Zorin OS 17 and 18 need just 1.5 gigs of RAM and will happily run on computers up to 15 years old. By throwing Zorin, especially the Lite edition, onto a laptop you were about to toss in the recycling bin, it can suddenly feel brand new, snappy, and totally responsive.
And the real-world impact of this is massive. Take the city of Vicenza in Italy. They migrated about 900 municipal computers from Windows over to Zorin OS. And their takeaway? They said that because of the lower hardware requirements alone, they expect to extend the lifespan of the city's PCs by 30 to 40%. That is a monumental cost saving for municipality, not to mention a huge win for cutting down electronic waste.
Section 5. Privacy, cost, and battery debates.
First up, privacy and security. Zorin OS gets a ton of praise here. Unlike modern Windows, Zorin has absolutely zero built-in telemetry tracking what you're doing and zero forced ads popping up in your start menu. And because it's built on a Linux foundation, specifically Ubuntu 22.04 LTS, which gets support all the way to June 2027, it's inherently resistant to your typical PC viruses and malware. Add in a curated software store with sandboxed apps, and your risk of accidentally downloading something nasty goes way, way down.
Okay, but what about laptop battery life? Well, this is where community experiences kind of go all over the place. Some users see amazing gains. Take this forum user, Sifta, who said, "When I switched to Linux, my battery life more than tripled." The logic makes sense. Linux doesn't have all that heavy background bloatware or constant update checks draining the system, so the CPU can actually rest at near 0% when you're not doing anything.
But to keep things fair, we have to look at the other side of that coin. Another veteran user, Aravision, points out that Windows often has a huge advantage with hardware support. Manufacturers work really closely with Microsoft to build highly optimized proprietary power management drivers. Because Linux drivers are often reverse-engineered or community-built, depending on your specific laptop, you might actually experience worse battery life after switching. It's a really complex trade-off between software efficiency and proprietary hardware optimization.
There's also this big debate over paying for the Pro version when entirely free Linux alternatives, like Big Linux, exist out there. Some purists will argue you shouldn't pay just for UI polish, but honestly, the proof is in the adoption. Just look at the WLW initiative in Switzerland. They provide refurbished laptops to give people fair educational chances in tough times. And they rely on Zorin OS. Why? Because the polish, the out-of-the-box readiness, and the total lack of a steep learning curve are incredibly valuable. Organizations and regular users are totally happy to support a system if it saves them hours of setup and troubleshooting.
Section 6. Should you make the switch?
If you're thinking about it, the developers have engineered this whole transition to be as painless as possible. Zorin OS comes pre-installed with built-in alternatives to popular Windows apps, like LibreOffice instead of Microsoft Office. It even has Windows app support baked in, using Wine, which lets you just double-click and run a lot of traditional Windows.exe and .msi files directly. There's Zorin Connect to securely link up your Android phone. And maybe the best part, you don't even have to fully commit right away. You can easily dual boot Zorin right alongside Windows and just choose which one you want every time you turn on your computer.
So, that leaves us with a really important final thought. We've been conditioned to think of computers as disposable, that after 4 or 5 years, they belong in a landfill just because a new version of Windows says they aren't good enough. Zorin OS completely shatters that narrative. It's offering a secure, private, and honestly beautiful bridge away from that endless forced upgrade cycle. So, are you ready to dig that old laptop out of the closet, flash a USB drive, and give it a second life? It might just completely change how you look at your tech. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.